Good afternoon, everybody. This is, and I'm Dr. Vikram Makeda, and I welcome you all for our fifth episode of uh, this series of webinars, which are themed around how to improve the productivity at workplace. And in this series today, we have the webinar on the topic called improving work attitude and discipline in workforce. Uh, if I would see that improving work attitude and discipline, if I have to put all these two concepts in one particular term, then I would call it employee engagement. Most of the entrepreneurs and most of the businessmen and most of the industrialists are undermining the importance of engagement. The word has moved from employee satisfaction to employee engagement, and having a higher employee engagement is not a moral requirement, but it makes a lot of business sense. Uh, there is a one consultancy company called Gallup, which most of you would have heard of, and the research from Gallup suggests that there is a direct relationship between increased uh, employee engagement and increased shareholder value. So, so it has been proved that that if you have a higher employee engagement uh, degree, then you would be having better bottom line, you would be having better shareholder values. So today, what we are going to discuss here is under this topic of improving work attitude and discipline in workforce are the basically three major things which we would be covering here. One is employee engagement activities, and another is internal discipline factors and its quality, and best practices and corrective interventions. So it is the presentation today would not restrict itself only to what employee engagement is and what internal discipline is, but it is how to create this or how to implement this in your organization, and how to replicate the best practices around the world. You would get some kind of a lead for that also. And as you know, that this series is being organized between with collaboration between Auto University and Skilltelligent. About Auto University, this university was established in 2011, and it is a first private university in South Gujarat with UGC recognition, located in Surat, and it is grounded in values-based education. It focuses on integral and transformational learning, and inspired by the philosophy of Shri Aurobindo's vision and integral education. It offers undergraduate, postgraduate, and PhD programs. And it runs School of Business, School of IT, School of Law, School of Hospitality, School of Mass Communication, Liberal Arts, Design, and soon there would be another school which we would be starting as School of Sciences. And about Skilltelligent is engaged in the business of providing quality skilling and reskilling solutions to employed industrial workforce. Skilltelligent has executed many assignments to improve skills of shop floor workers, their productivity, competencies, work-related interpersonal communication skills, as well as for training to establish manufacturing best practices and methods within their employment work environment. Skilltelligent is headed by Mr. Atul Garg, who has been a keynote speaker for all the webinars in this series. And Mr. Atul Garg besides being a director of Skilltelligent, has been chairman of Confederation of Indian Industry, Gujarat State Council, and has been on several regional and national committees of Confederation of Indian Industry. He has more than 3 decades of experience in IT industry and has built several softwares. And now I would not be standing between you and the audience, Mr. Garg, and I would hand it over to you. So please, you may start your presentation now.
Thank you, Dr. Makhija. So, good evening, everybody. As Dr. Makhija said, this is the 5th in the series on productivity at workplace. And the workplace here, we are not taking any other reference, but rather we are talking about the industrial shop floor. That's our focus area. How do we improve the productivity on the industrial shop floor? So today, we will be talking about how do we improve the work attitude and discipline. And if I look back, whenever we interact along with the shop floor managers or the management of the companies, they always complain about the lack of right work attitude and discipline in the workplace. Level of complaints differ from organization to organization based on their composition of workforce in terms of education levels, experience levels, geographical locations, and sometimes even the social background and so on. Company policies and workforce management skills of the immediate supervisors and executives also impacts the work attitude and disciplinary issues. A disciplined workforce with right work attitude is the first necessity, we would say, to improve the productivity in an industrial activity. So we are going to hold this discussion, which is primarily for the HR managers, plant and factory managers, and of course management, so that they can understand that what actually goes into improving the work attitude and discipline in the workforce. Let me share the presentation so that we can discuss more in context. Is the presentation visible? Okay, all right. So today we will be discussing what are the common challenges on the shop floor. How do we define work attitude and workplace discipline? We will also discuss how we can engage the employees effectively and what are the recommended best practices and corrective actions possible. Like we did it in the past 4 webinars, we will again take a case study to contextualize and make it easy to understand the whole subject. Our focus will remain on the lower spectrum of the workforce, which is usually the casual and contractual workers, operators, and technicians, etc. We are not going to focus out onto the managers and executives and so on, because that's not the focus area we work along with. Okay. As Dr. Makhija already said it, that it's not a new term, but this is the more relevant term, I would put it, that employee engagement is a more relevant term in today's context. So we are going to discuss that at length as well and try to understand that part also. We will begin with understanding what are the shop floor challenges and where do they originate. And we'll look into it. We will be dividing up the shop floor workforce into the 3 parts. The first part is casual and unskilled workers. And they are usually involved into the manual work, small mechanized operations. Sometimes they do the support activities to operators and technicians and so on. These workers can be locals, but largely are migratory workers and usually have very low education levels. So most common issues we see with these type of workmen are personal hygiene and cleanliness. That's the biggest one. Habitual spitting and littering, not maintaining clean workspace, that goes hand in hand with their basic personal hygiene and cleanliness. Absenteeism and late reporting. That's a major concern to the administration as well as to the management. And sometimes they would even leave their workstations earlier than the end time. They would be in a hurry to get out of the working premises. So that's another major concern which comes in. The other major concern which comes in is taking multiple breaks, which could be towards the personal or work fatigue, and also when reporting late from the lunch breaks. So they would stay away from the work as far as possible. And that also becomes a challenge to the shop floor managers. Sometimes we have also come across the situations where there are small and petty thefts which happen on the shop floor. They usually are not a major concern, but sometimes these things do happen. So these are the kind of challenges we see with the casual and unskilled workers. When we come down to the next level, which is operators, technicians, and senior workers, usually we see some kind of a formal education in these people. They might have done ITI, they might have done some kind of a vocational training or some kind of a diploma, which puts them in a slightly better situation compared to the casual and contractor workers who may not be educated at all. Usually, we don't see major issues with these kind of the people in respect to the absenteeism, but late reporting definitely is still an issue with that. Taking multiple breaks at work, sleeping off in night shifts, or not maintaining workplace cleanliness. These are still the common areas which go along with these people as well. The general discipline and attitude towards work with these people can be very lax, and this might result into the quality and safety incidences. The senior workers, though experienced, they still may show the laxity towards work, and general discipline might be an issue. We also see that sometimes the complacency sets in these people. They get into that I know it all, or I've done it many times kind of the mindset. So that's another challenge which we see on the shop floor. When it comes down to the slightly senior people in terms of the supervisors, frontline leaders who actually manage the shop floor or these teams, there are challenges even over there as well. Some kind of the challenges which occur in terms of preconceived notions towards the casual workers and employees in terms of their ability to manage teams and conflicts, giving appropriate instructions and managing activities and so on and so forth. Quality and safety incidences once again may continue to occur due to lack of focus and lack of competency to manage them well. Appropriate supervisory competencies, which are crucial in managing workforce and shop floor to achieve the business goals, also may be a challenge when it comes down to the supervisors and frontline leaders involved into that. So these are the broad kind of the challenges which normally we see when we talk about the shop floor challenges. Okay. So if we say that these are the challenges, what can be the reasons towards them? So there can be several reasons for these attitudinal challenges on the shop floor. And they're just not the attitudinal, they are also the discipline challenges as well. So with casual workers, the socio-economic background contributes to workplace cleanliness, personal hygiene, spitting and littering habits. These people do not realize the need for clean workplace on their own because the environment which they come from may not be so clean that they would recognize the necessity for a very clean environment. With senior workers, operators and technicians, it can be the habit-forming practices, lack of needed supervision and control mechanisms, etc. So if there is no control mechanism also, these things can happen. Unless these people are correctly guided and engaged into right practices, they will continue with their habits, and general discipline and attitude towards work will remain a challenge. And when we talk about the senior shop floor staff, supervisors and shop floor managers, usually it is a question of competencies and managerial support. Okay. Once these people are enabled with knowledge and skills to manage people, work and situation, they usually end up delivering better results from their teams. Again, employee engagement in meaningful activities as well as mitigating to work fatigue related issues are also important. So these are some of the reasons why we see these kind of the shop floor challenges coming up. Continuity commitment is another common cause which comes from the perceived value addition to an employee's economic benefit. If the people do not see that this job is going to add up some additional value to me or some economic benefit, they may not want to continue, and that's where the absenteeism, late coming, lack of discipline starts coming in. So let's take a case study. In this particular case, we are going to talk about a fictitious company called SPL Packaging, which is into specialty bulk fabric bags manufacturing. And this company has grown in recent years through aggressive marketing. However, though they have scaled up in the marketing, they have regular dispatch delays because of the shop floor disruptions by the workforce. Majority of their workforce is experienced with years of working and is skilled to be able to produce faster, but work attitude and discipline is kind of missing. This results into frequent disruptions on the shop floor, higher wastages, and lower productions. Okay. So management has been always concerned about it. They recently hired a new senior HR manager, and they give him a task of resolving the workplace attitude and discipline issues, or in short, handling the brewing industrial relations issues on the shop. Because if the discipline and work attitude is not right, it will sooner or later lead to deteriorating IR issues, and it can be bigger trouble in the organization. Okay. So HR manager who has been recently recruited, this person passionately believes that IR issues are best addressed with the help of a production team and by implementing the shop floor best practices and slowly folding in everyone into the system. So that's his belief, and with this belief, he puts together a work group of production manager, departmental heads, shift in charges, and he sets out to bring a change on the shop. He puts 3 focus areas that initially let's understand the current situation clearly with root causes or major contributing factors. Second, establish right employment engagement activities involving everybody. And third is introduce best practices on shop floor with the needed corrective actions. So with this focus area, he also sets up some targets to measure that whether there is improvement on the shop floor or not. So his targets are that absenteeism and late coming should be eliminated. If not, then at least it should be minimized. Reduce the multiple work breaks which are taking place as of this particular moment and disrupting the production. Improve the wastage ratio. Improve the productivity on the shop floor and have a faster turnaround to the shop floor issues. Whatever issues are coming up on the shop floor, how do you have a faster turnaround to that? So to understand the current situation, obviously it is very important to collect the data, carry out observations and analyze them. Okay. So HR manager again needs to know what the work attitudinal issues are and which disciplinary constraints production manager faces on the shop floor. So he asks this work group team to prepare a fishbone diagram and share it back with the entire group and discuss that more in detail. So the team goes out and prepares the 3 fishbone diagrams. They take up the 3 particular issues. The first one they take up is for the work attitude, which in a way you can count or call it as a behavioral trait. When they do the fishbone diagram, when they do the data collection and analysis of that and plot it back, they find that there are 8 major reasons, which is, or the causes which are resulting into the effect on the work attitude. And these causes could be socioeconomic background of the workers, largely to the casual and the contractual labor, safety and quality consciousness, which could be across the board, workplace practices awareness, once again an across the board issue, following instructions and respecting authority, which would be larger into the lower levels, self-initiatives, again missing across the board, team working, which is a cultural issue, and the job satisfaction, which is a personal, gratification kind of the issue in this. So these are the 8 major issues or the causes they identify as part of their, exercise of analyzing the situation. The second fishbone diagram they prepare is focused on the internal discipline. Now, I would call the internal discipline as characterized by the intra-company rules, regulations, best practices, and so on and so forth. So if you have a good following or good adoption of intra-company rules and the regulations, best practices, then the internal discipline would be higher. So team identifies over here around 6 major causes which are, instrumental in not maintaining the appropriate internal discipline. Number 1 is attention to details. Second is safety and quality consciousness. Third is a workplace cleanliness. Fourth is following instructions and respecting authority. Fifth is following time limits. And sixth is the social behavior towards the fellow workers. So these are the 6 causes they identify as part of, the internal discipline not being up to the mark as required. Okay. The third one, which they do is, the third cause and effect diagram is on the quality of internal discipline. Now, internal discipline, as we said, can be termed as adherence to the company's policies towards safety, quality, maintenance, productivity, and so on and so forth. Quality of internal discipline is towards measuring that and ensuring that this, in an absolute term, helps in managing the productivity or improving the productivity. So that's where they start focusing it out. And there they find that following the procedures and practices was an issue. Commitment levels could have been better. Ownership and self-initiatives were lacking. Similarly, safety and quality conscious needed to be improved, and the group dynamics overall were missing. Okay, so these are the root causes which they identify as part of this entire exercise initiated by the new HR manager. Okay, so having got this data, now the HR manager has got some kind of the insights, and he decides to focus on the two core actionable items. Okay. So he talks about saying that from his perspective, he has come up with a different terminology, and he comes up and says that I'm looking up at improving the effective commitment and the continuous commitment into my workforce. What does the effective commitment mean? It means that improving the emotional attachment to an organization and a belief in its values. So that's effective commitment. And he feels that if this starts improving, a lot of improvement will come into the attitude and internal discipline. The second thing is continuous commitment, where an employee feels that his value of remaining with the organization is going to be higher compared to leaving it and going to another organization, which again will mean that he will stick around in the organization for a longer period for whatever reasons, whether it's economic benefit or his belief system. So there is a continuity over here. So these are the two factors the HR manager, wants to rather kind of focus on. Very interestingly, he says that I would work beyond the monetary rewards. I would not bring the monetary rewards as the motivating factor to improve the attitude and the discipline over here. So before we go into these two specific topics and understand that what this guy has been able to achieve and how, let's try to understand that what the employee engagement activities can be. So normally the HR considers employee engagement as involvement of an employee either into various committees, let's say for managing infrastructure, facilities, canteens, or so on, or maybe even carrying out the fun activities like taking part into sports and tournaments, doing some company outings, bonding games, soft skill stuffs, or maybe even some technical training. So to them, training, learning and development activities, participation into the committees, participation into some kind of the extracurricular activities are generally considered as the employee engagement. While these two activities do lift the environment and make the employees happy to a certain extent, they do not contribute to the productivity or improvement on the shop floor as much as perceived. And also it is very difficult to measure them and base the rewards and recognition schemes on their effectiveness. So this person at the SPL packaging, he understands this very clearly, this limitation of the current employee engagement practices being followed by the other people. He is also a firm believer of employee engagement in continuous improvement activities, which can be measurable and also directly contribute to the organization. So he defines the employee engagement activities for all three types of the workforce levels, and those are: one, for the casual and contract unskilled workers, he defines the employee engagement activities here at a very elementary level and towards ensuring the effective working. So these workmen may change regularly, so it is also necessary that they are given a robust induction training and taught their work well. He focuses more on the training and induction and other things. Second, these guys would be given specific works which are cleanliness and hygiene responsibilities, not just to ensure it themselves, but also to educate and control others in their own work areas, so that they become, the messengers, they become the kind of motivators even for others as well. Okay. And on top of it, he feels that they would be involved in daily shift briefings, and their feedback will be sought at the end of the shift. Shift briefings will also include, let's say, clear instructions, guidance, and goals for the day, and their opinions will be solicited on how to improve the cleanliness and hygiene. This they might have observed during their own shift as well. So this is an engagement where they're constructively contributing with their thought processes, observation, and so on, and they are even guided into that particular activity. Okay. With the operators and technicians and the senior workers, he realizes that they would have the required operational knowledge and also substantial work experience. So these workmen would need to be involved in problem solving and troubleshooting exercises. They need to become part of the cross-functional teams for various issues resolutions. They would also become part of the special purpose teams towards safety and emergency response, maybe even facility management, practices implementation, and even standard operating procedure reviews. They will also be given responsibility of being part of the Jagrat team. This is a concept where the team members assist management by alerting about missed practices or follow-ups required for the corrective actions. So they can be part of these kind of the several teams. Workmen who have good experience, they can be trained to become the practice champion or master trainer, and they can own the subsequent training to others. So again, their engagement can improve via that particular part. Workmen need to also be involved in one-point lesson preparations and implementation, and they need to be part of the toolbox meetings for the safety briefings as well. Okay. Senior workers, operators, and technicians must be engaged in the implementation of 5S, visual management, Kaizen, quality control, quality circles, and such other 5S tools, which will again, lean tools, which will again help them to be engaged more effectively and with a direct contribution to the benefit to the organization as well. HR manager firmly believes that more they are engaged in such activities, more they will learn as well as they start owning up the various initiatives. And this will always lead to higher effective commitments as well as the continuous commitment. So that's his belief with which he sets out these kind of the engagement areas. Okay. The supervisors and shop floor managers while they are responsible for their teams, they need also to be enabled for their team's higher engagement. So these people will be then taken up to a different level altogether, given their experience and also proximity to the senior management. They would lead the troubleshooting and continuous improvement efforts on the shop floor. They should also lead the best practices implementation and promoting new knowledge as well as the techniques with their team. Their engagement in the quality circles, implementation of 5S and visual management, other lean practices, all this will become mandatory for them. And that way, their engagement into the meaningful activities will start going up. This level of workforce must be trained to become mentors. And they should also become the leaders in resource management, technical practices, and continuous improvement initiatives. So these are some of the activities, which are planned out as an employee engagement for them. They must also be identified for the cross-training needs, and they should also be planned for the job rotations for reducing the work fatigue as well as building the capacity in their teams. So for the three types of the people in his workforce, he has very clearly laid out that what kind of the work engagement or the employee engagement activities have to be carried out. And they all are very contextual and all measurable activities. Plus, they directly contribute to the organization's well-being, apart from their ensuring the engagement of each employee. Okay. Next, he realizes that I can engage the employee, I can give him a lot of activities to be done, but that is not sufficient to address the work attitude and the discipline issues. Okay. One also needs to look at the organizational readiness to support these kind of the employee engagement activities and also the initiatives. So the corrective action plan as well as the practices implementation also has to be part of the overall strategy to engage these kind of the employees. Okay. So let's take a look at what options are available to HR manager at the SPL packaging. Okay. Some of the core things which ensure that the casual workers like to continue working at your factory can be very, very elementary things. Good canteen food, better treatment at the workplace. Strangely, clean workplace or cleaner workplace also attracts them. The proper tools to work with. These are the very simple things, but these are the factors which ensures that the casual workers continue at your work. They prefer you over the other factory when the contractor brings them over. So if also at the same time if right from the very beginning, all kind of the rules are known to them and they know that rules are being enforced very rigorously, then they will follow them more diligently. A cleaner workplace is likely to be less littered by the casual workers because the smallest of the littering becomes highly visible. So somebody can, very easily point it out that, look, you threw something, and they would want to avoid because they don't want to be caught and then put it to a fix over there. Okay. Similarly, workers who are given the formal induction training as well as the systematic training for their work, they tend to have the less work attitude or discipline issues. Okay. So some kind of the training program has to be built into it. Quality of the internal discipline, it will improve dramatically with the well-defined and standardized work, proper training, visual controls, audit and review mechanisms, and feedback system. So these things also have to coexist into the organization side by side. Okay. Collective problem solving in forms of the cross-functional teams, quality circles, or kaizens, they also improve the comradeship as well as produce the better effective solutions. Leadership traits of the production, shop floor, and functional managers who matter to these kind of the workforce, they will matter a lot in shaping the workforce. Okay? They will influence the workforce very positively. Discipline and work attitude is always influenced by the behavior of their immediate superiors. So if those people are also, trained upwards, then this will also help a lot. Similarly, if a leader empowers his team, then that will bring out the effective commitment as the team starts feeling the belongingness to the organization and takes on more responsibility and self-driven improvement initiatives. So leader empowering the team is also a crucial factor. 5S and visual management are the baseline practices for any good productive environment. These are the core lean tools and the start of the lean journey. Implementing them and engaging workforce in implementing such initiatives again goes a long way in securing the right attitude and discipline. Okay. Cross-skilling and well-structured job rotations also ensures that there is a perceived and real growth of the deserving workman, which also increases the organizational capacity. We had this session earlier and we saw that, how the organizational capacity also can be increased by a well-planned job rotation. This also again changes the behavioral traits as this raises the perceived economic value of remaining within the organization compared to leaving it. The other best practices which we can include can be self-governed teams creation, like the emergency response team, safety team, cross-functional teams for the specific issues, facility management teams or the geographic teams, and so on and so forth. Kaizen and quality circles, these are continuous improvement tools. They engage the employee very well. And employees feel highly motivated when they see the results of their activities or their actions through the quality circles. Okay? And that's because they keep the employees focused on how to find the right solution, and output of those solutions can also be clearly measured in terms of monetary and tangible benefits. So when I see a monetary and tangible benefits occurring because of my efforts, my motivation level usually will be higher. Okay? Setting up activity norms and work standardization by carrying out work studies and also helps in mitigating the work fatigue. And if the work fatigue has been reduced, it can again be a motivator to change of the attitude at the work. Okay? Setting up regular review and feedback systems, mistake proofing practices, these also help in improving the workplace discipline. Not to leave out a well thought rewards and recognition system is always required to motivate the team. But this rewards and recognition system need not be monetary based. It can be in multiple different ways. Maybe in some particular session, we will also talk about how to design those systems. But the monetary rewards alone are not always the best motivators. Okay? However, they are best demotivators if I don't get the reward. So we have to be very careful over here. Establishing checklists at each workstation for necessary activities, they also help in reducing error chances and again improve the engagement with the employees, because now they're doing it in a systematic way, following certain rules and regulation and so on and so forth. So these are some of the best practices which can be introduced when you want to increase the employee engagement, and all the best practices along with the employee engagement go hand in hand. Let's take a look at what kind of the corrective actions also should be thought about. because you have now implemented certain best practices, you have got employee engagement activities initiated. What if the things don't go north as planned, they go west or south, then you should also be prepared for some kind of a corrective action or some intervention to ensure that they turn back to the north once again. So while we establish the best practices, it is equally important to establish the checks and balances to ensure their continuity. And these checks and balances can be corrective or punitive in terms of their definitions. Usually, we would focus on number one, on regular audits and reviews of the practices established. If we don't audit back and we don't review back what we have established, pretty soon we'll realize that those practices are not in practice anymore. Okay? Repetitive training is another major important part. We may have trained once, but we have to continuously train till it becomes part of their life, part of their thinking process, and they believe in it. Okay? Again, close monitoring of basic rules adherence is also necessary to be able to ensure timely intervention. This also makes the intention of the organization very clear to the workforce that organization means business, they have established rules, they don't want the rules to be broken, and they will go to any length to ensure that those rules are imposed, and more than imposed, they are adhered to. People benefit from those rules. Okay. Training, it has to be embedded into the daily work management plans. It cannot be one-off kind of the event on a regular basis. Whether it is a new employee, the proper induction training has to take place. Even if that person has been there for quite some time, one per day, some training or the other has to take place, which is covering some topic and reiterating it back. Maybe you are bringing out the new ways of doing it, you are bringing out best practices into it, updated technologies, anything, but the training has to be part of the daily work management plan, which can ensure the continuity of the learning for the people. Okay. In case of repetitive mistakes, which may happen initially, the root cause identification is must, and it should result into either the improvement into the systems, methods, or lead to the enhanced training. If we don't do this particular thing, then the mistakes can keep on happening, and then the people will lose the faith after a certain time, and they will, just go back to their own ways of working. Immediate intervention in such cases when the repetitive mistakes do happen is must to maintain the momentum as well as trust factors of the workforce. And organization may even establish the penalties or maybe even take the disciplinary action if the repeat situations keep happening. It has to be carrot and a stick kind of approach. We just cannot say that we'll continue to offer the carrot. In cases where it is beyond a reproachment situation, the disciplinary action has to be taken and we must not shy away from it as well. So having looked into what can be done, having looked into the employee engagement activities, best practices which can be implemented, and the corrective action framework which can be implemented, now he plans out a series of things to be done into his organization. So based on the work studies done earlier, it seems that HR manager finds out that there was somebody hired who did the entire work studies, including the work measurement and method study, and they had recommended certain activity norms and certain other guidelines. They decide to now implement these activity norms as well as the other recommendations on the method studies, and they try to ensure that based upon that they are able to standardize the working. This will help them to ensure that everyone has set time limits to finish a particular work, and also has the necessary relaxation allowance built into it, so that they can also monitor and assist the people to reduce the number of multiple breaks. If the work fatigue was the cause, then the work fatigue cause can be removed over here and the multiple breaks can be reduced over here. Okay. They also decide to implement the 5S in visual management, and for that they create the zones. They assign the zonal responsibilities to the workforce based upon their current competencies and motivation level. This again brings in the engagement and in a right way, because now you are implementing the right methods of improving the workplace cleanliness, and they themselves are engaged into it to implement it. Of course, a lot of training will be required to help them out, but that's a action plan which they have put in. Production manager on the other hand side sets up various cross-functional teams to manage the production activities better. This he perceives will help them to improve their inter-team relations as well as solve the issues faster and effectively. Self-governed teams are planned, which will take care of the emergency response, safety, and the Jagrat activities, so that the management can be alerted in case there are non-compliances happening on the shop floor in the day-to-day routine. And before they become larger non-compliances, they can be corrected by the right intervention immediately. HR manager on the other end side, he takes up the responsibility of setting up a comprehensive induction training program, and the production team works out the training schedule for everyone on the best practices, lean systems, and relevant tools, and so on and so forth. Team also identifies several senior workers to be trained for becoming the practice champions or the master trainer. If the people have got a lot of experience, why they can't be turned into practice champions or the master trainers, and they then can train the others as well. And that's a moment of pride also for them. There's also a recognition of their knowledge levels, and so on and so forth. Team also decides to put in action the revised shift briefings, where everyone is involved in receiving it and also providing the feedback. Okay. HR team on the other hand side says that they will undertake the job analysis on job family creation, so that they can investigate the possible cross-skilling for the job rotation, which can again, not only increase the organization capacity, but also increase the competencies into the team and also increase their satisfaction levels. A measurable rewards and recognition system, which is non-monetary, is also planned for recognizing the performers and to motivate the others. And based upon all the studies they did and the presentation this team made to the management also approves more decentralized leadership approach, which will mean that the employees are empowered more at different levels. So it's not always a centralized decision making now over here. This again gives more responsibilities on the shoulders of the people involved and engages them more effectively. Certain infrastructure projects are initiated by the management to improve the facilities for workers, canteen, their locker rooms, restrooms, and so on and so forth, so that the workers feel at ease, and that can become a way of even pushing them for better cleanliness overall. Team also recommends regular and strict audits and review mechanism with required follow-up on the training, support, and maybe even guidance to the workforce. And lastly, HR manager recommends that workforce should be empowered to undertake continuous improvement activities via the Kaizens, quality circles, Gemba walks, process audits, etc., so that there is an increase in the innovation and motivation level of the workforce goes up. So these are the kind of the actions which the HR manager now plans out based upon all the studies done so far. Okay. And what does it lead to? It definitely leads to some kind of the improvement. So HR manager over here, after a period of 3 months, wants to now go back and review that all these efforts were done, these best practices were put in place, employees were engaged in different mechanisms, there was a systematic action plan put into the effect. So what is the impact of that, and is there a real progress? So he goes back to find out that what has been happening. So what are his findings? 3 months later, where his team has been diligently working in making this happen, he finds that the casual workers are able to work now independently with minimal instructions and supervision, because there is a well-executed induction training given to them, as well as there is a necessary work training given to them before they are put onto a particular job. They do not litter so much, they do not dirty up the place so much, because now they see a cleaner environment. 5S has helped to ensure that the environment is clean and better. And the Jagrat team is always active, and they immediately see if there is a non-compliance and they intervene immediately. So the littering, the dirtying of the place and so on has started becoming better. So it's no longer a dirty environment, it's a much, much cleaner environment than what it was earlier. Also, important thing, the casual workers now maintain the clean workspace because there is also a strict rules enforcement as well. So it's always a carrot and stick approach. They also get, a enforcement over here, which also keeps them in the check as well. The absenteeism has come down because workers feel that they have better respect, there is a well-structured work allocation, and the working has become ergonomical, which again reduces their fatigue over here. Since there is empowerment right at the lower level, the respect levels have gone up as well. Okay. Then again, the smaller things which have happened in terms of a better canteen, better restroom, better locker facilities, and better, rest areas, and so on and so forth, they again feel that, it is a better place to work on, and hence the absenteeism again has come down dramatically. Late coming, also associated with absenteeism, is also down, because now there is a strict rule to be present in the shift briefings, which is now collaborative and two-way communication. So not just, it is the enforcement that you have to be here by this particular time, but they are now responsible to explain into the shift that what has been done, what has to be done, what are the inputs into it, and also understand the work. So their attendance becomes important, and hence they themselves are not now becoming late into the office or into the factory. Operators and technicians now take pride in their work because they now understand it better, that what exactly is being done, but they also take pride because they're contributing to the improvements via the Kaizens and the quality circles as well, and also the 5S and visual management and the initiatives. Their engagement in the 5S and visual management activities helps them to understand the importance of reducing waste in every respect, which again, helps them to understand other sides of the coin and take care of it by themselves rather than being prodded by their seniors into it. Every time they face a problem, they are now coming together to form a cross-functional team and use the problem-solving tools taught to them to identify the root causes and resolve. They now understand the need to adhere to the standard operating procedures, and this has helped in improving the overall quality of internal discipline, because everything is now going as per what has been laid out as a well-structured, well-thought-out, standardized work and daily work management plans based on scientific studies and, enablement for that. So overall, employee engagement at the SPL packaging now is making it a better workplace to work at. They are all now in a mode to think that why can't our place be a world-class manufacturing, and the work environment is actually charged with the positivity. The rewards and recognition scheme, which has been put in place, also has motivated a lot of workforce positively, primarily because people feel highly, satisfied and proud when they are announced that they have achieved their targets or they have contributed in an immense way to the organization. So that recognition as the organization-wide becomes a great motivator factor for them to get more engaged and more happy and contribute more. So what has this all resulted into? When he started tabulating back, again, collecting the data and tabulating back, he found that the absenteeism now actually stands at, it's a mistake, it's now at 0.2% versus the 4.5%, which is a dramatic drop from what it was. Late coming has become zero from the earlier 16%, because people feel responsible and accountable for being part of the shift briefings and also, passing on the right information to the others or look forward to what the work allocation has to be. Production wastages have come down because of the various Kaizens and the quality control circles being put into place and the 5S being implemented as well. Plus the Jagrat team also, contributing to it. So the production wastages in different manners have started coming down from 7% to 3%. 5S audited scores have started growing. So each zone is now getting better scores over there. Earlier, a issue would happen and it would take sometimes days to resolve that. There would be a lot of conflicts into it. Now he's seeing that the issues are getting resolved within a few hours, and he estimates it to be maybe sometimes up to 70% lesser time in resolving the issue. Material losses which happen because of inaccurate or improper handling, storage, and transportation, they've reduced from 2% to 0.5%. So he's seeing a massive improvement into his workforce, and workforce attitude has dramatically changed, which has helped them to increase their productivity and also on the several other parameters as well. Okay. So coming back to the effective and the continuous commitment, which we talked earlier, which he set it up as a goal, he finds that now the effective commitment of the worker has gone up because they believe that the organization now stands firmly on its principles and is open to improvement for everyone's benefit. This has helped in increasing the emotional attachment and also a new sense of belongingness has started emerging, which is self-regulating the workforce in keeping the workplace cleaner and also honoring the rules, established standards, systems, and practices. So this itself has resulted into a huge improvement into the attitude and the quality of internal discipline. The second, he also finds that continuous commitment is also increasing the workforce as they find that there is a higher economic value of remaining with SPL packaging. And it has a direct impact on the absenteeism and late coming, because if I come late, there will be penalty. If I don't come to the job, I'll lose the money. So he finds that now the workforce is now working within the system. Very important fact that they are working within the system. That is, whatever system has been identified, they follow that and they work along with that. And there is a positive attitude in the entire. There is a sense of belongingness, pride in his or their own individual work. And this has automatically improved the discipline and reduced the supervision need on a day-to-day basis. So the supervisors are now relatively quite free to rather look at the improvements and the growth part rather than doing all the time troubleshooting or managing the workforce on a micro. So that's a kind of a benefit he sees at the end of the day. So if I kind of summarize it, workplace attitude and discipline is not just the workforce issue. It is not just a worker issue. Management also has to equally own up the effort, and they also have to put up the right employee engagement policies in effect. Putting up the right practices and corrective actions help in guiding the team to better working conditions, and this helps in improving the discipline at workplace and also changes the attitude of the workers. A proper training system, which is supported by a change in policies to improve the work culture, also goes a long way in changing the work attitude and increasing the quality of the internal discipline. So everything has to go together. It just cannot be one-sided effort by saying that we will engage the employees, but we will not empower them, or we will not enable them, or we will not give them training, or we will not, make them competent. Or on the other hand side, we will just make them competent and anticipate them to be, having a right attitude, a right discipline. It all has to be a mixture of the employee engagement, the best practices implementation, corrective actions embedded into it. They all together focus out on the work attitude and internal discipline of the organization. So this is the end of my presentation over here. Just to reiterate it back, Auro and Auro University and Skill Intelligent have jointly come together to work along with the industry and help them improve their workforce competencies via the proper training and implementation of the necessary practices. We would be more than happy to support your industry and carry out customized trainings to your workforce to help you improve your workforce productivity, your attitude, and also the discipline of the workplace. So thank you, Dr. Makhija, for hosting this session. I am done over here. If there are questions from the participants, then we can take those questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your presentation, sir. And definitely, we have one question from Mr. Manoj Ukhare. He says that as an HR manager, we want to implement work discipline at workplace, but how to convince plant head or top management for this practice?
See, it will totally depend upon what kind of the workplace management system you want to put in. If it's purely from an HR perspective, chances are that the production manager will have the hesitancy, because production manager usually will be highly, concerned about the productivity of his employees, and when especially he has, short delivery periods and pressure onto delivery, he would consider any kind of the, HR activity as a hindrance to his meeting the productivity goals or the production goals. So until and unless your plan is connected back to their requirements, something which not only engages the employee effectively, but also is contributing to the needs of the production manager or the plant manager, they usually will not agree. But if you come down and tell them that, okay, I'm going to do certain activities which is going to help your worker actually become more productive, more contributing to your activities, they will be more than happy to join hands with you and take it forward. So it will all depend upon how you present it and how you take it down. or plant management.
Or maybe he can set up your meeting with his top management.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Goes without saying, sir.
Okay. Sir, if you would notice that there are big share of contingent workforce in every organization. So a lot of casual workers which are forming the workforce. So what do you think, how can they be engaged and what kind of engagement practices for them we can introduce? And should there be any engagement practice since they are not on your payroll? So what do you say?
That's a good question, because normally we would, consider the temporary employees to be out of the purview of all these kind of activities, and these activities do cost money, time, and effort. But let's remember that the casual workers or these kind of contractual workers or unskilled workers are also part of your production team. They could be at very exceptionally low level, but they are still part of the production team. They may not be doing very big jobs, but they are essential in handling the material, maintaining the cleanliness, contamination, sometimes or mostly even assisting your operators and technicians. And very importantly, these people still set the work culture of your organization by their behavior at the workplace. Okay. So if these people are inducted in a formal way, and this doesn't have to be more than 20-30 minutes long sessions at the workplace itself, to orient them on the organization's do's and don'ts, and then follow it up along with the work instructions, demonstrations, then the productivity level even of these people goes up. If they are able to shift the material faster to the workstation as required with the operator and technician, you have the lower wait period at the workstation. So they again, end up contributing to the productivity. The second benefit which starts coming in by, focusing upon them and engaging them into certain employee engagement activities is that this results into lesser supervisions. People become self-sufficient. People understand that, what I have to do. They don't require lengthy or close supervision, and they can work independently. This frees up the senior workers or supervisors to do the other bit. That itself becomes a major benefit. The other thing which happens is that most of these casual workers, though they are casual, they're pretty regular into the organization in the sense that they would be there for 3, 4, 6, maybe even 1 year. Okay? So when they return back to the next day, then that's where the training which you have given on the day one makes the biggest difference. You don't have to retrain them. You don't have to, suffer the losses initially carried out by their inability to handle the job well. So you directly start getting the increased productivity from the day two itself, even with the casual workers and so on and so forth. And some small training sessions which you continue, again, helps them to, do their job better. Now, when these guys are returning back to your place, that's where, if they are engaged into certain things, they again feel a sense of pride that I am part of the team. I am not an outsider. Okay? So this again builds up the commitment to the organization and helps the other employed people over here. So those are the reasons I would say that we must engage even the casual workers as well in these activities.
Thank you. In your presentation, you talked about creating internal discipline. So now the question is that how would you measure the quality of internal discipline?
So let's look at internal discipline in a slightly different way. I would define the internal discipline, let's say, as acceptance and adoption level of the various organizational policies, regulations, guidances, and the various work practices put in the place by management, okay, which has been done systematically and scientifically. Now, if there is a better adoption and acceptance of these practices by everybody, then obviously the internal discipline will be higher. And now, since we are talking about the very specific things in terms of certain policies or certain methods or certain ways of doing the work or certain work instructions or SOPs and so on and so forth, I can measure them very effectively. So what my measurements would come up, they would come up in terms of reduced wastage, quality, safety incidences, absenteeism, maybe even various types of the audits being carried out, so audit scores, non-compliance ratios, and so on and so forth. So I can always use these measures to find out that what is my internal quality quality of the internal discipline. Okay. So that's how we actually measure the quality of internal discipline.
Right. Thank you very much. There is another question for you, sir, that it reads that we have done several rounds of training, but there is no change in the work attitude. Do trainings really work?
It's a very relevant question because this is a common thing which comes up. We do regular trainings and yet we don't see a change in our work. So let's remember one thing, that training is not an event, but it's a culture. And if we don't repeat it in the right context, or we don't adopt it in the right manner, we don't do it against a goal, then training usually doesn't produce any result.
Right.
So normally training are done on one-time activity in different environment. Trainees are then after that left to go back to their workplace and figure out how to apply that knowledge into different work environment. Okay? And when they go back to their workplace, also remember that they already have the pressure of delivery as well. So it's a catch-22 situation for them. Do they apply the new knowledge which they don't know how to apply? They've just heard about it. They have not seen the application side of it. And on the other hand side, they have got the pressure to deliver. So should they experiment or not? So as a result of it, the first thing they will do is they will not apply that learned knowledge and they will keep it aside. Okay? So training as an event really doesn't work out. So the training has to be part of a standard working where each new activity is first explained to the employee. And this has to be explicit training. There has to be regular assessments and necessary corrective interventions. There has to be hand-holding. And this training has to be conducted by the seniors involved in this particular job, done at the workplace. It has to be involved with the practical activities to be taken care of. Applicability of a knowledge in a regular working has to be part of this environment. Then only you would see the result of such kind of a training. Plus, this has to be continuously part of your daily work management plan and work standardization. Otherwise, if training remains as an event, then you will celebrate an event, but you will not get the impact of that event.
Right. Another question. My workforce does not understand the need for maintaining clean work environment despite our spending substantial money on infrastructure. What can be done?
Yeah, usually we would go back and say that we have spent so much of the money, but the workforce doesn't know how to treat it well. Okay? And it's a very common thing which we have seen. I can take some funny examples which we have seen in many companies. But fact remains that do our policies and the shop floor leadership also empower these people to live into that proper environment effectively? So in absence of the support and empowerment, what happens is workforce which has not used these good, better facilities, they would revert back to what they know the best. So as a result of it, these people, also let's remember that some of these people come from a different kind of a socio-economic background, and in their own socio-economic background outside the industry premises, they do not live in a very, very clean, hygienic or very elaborate infrastructure. Okay? So they have certain way of living and they would carry that into the work premises. So we need to sensitize them on these particular issues. We need to persist with the proper training. We have to have an audit system. We have to handhold them for a considerable time. And only when we have a strong audit associated with the disciplinary action and training and support, along with maybe even, who knows, even the rewards and recognition system, that we will see these investments into the clean work environment paying off over here. Okay. So it has to be two ways.
Right. Great. So thank you very much. That's all from my side, and it was really a great presentation. And I'm sure it was very useful for those who have been managing the shop floors and the workplace, and they would be taking a lot of learnings away home, and they would be able to improvise the work culture at the shop floor. And anybody who wants to discuss on this further can contact Mr. Kishore Sharma, and and he can take forward. Sharma ji, anything you would like to add on about our next episode?
Sure. Yeah. I think let us just to conclude this session first. The significance of discipline in an organization cannot be overlooked, as productivity, company profitability, and employee morale can get negatively affected. And I'm sure today's presentation would certainly help us in identifying the gaps and improving work attitude and discipline. Best practices and corrective actions, as shared, would help us to initiate change. And we know that it is a continuous process which over a period of time will keep on producing results. So we conclude here with a clear understanding that work attitude and discipline in workforce is of utmost importance, and we must ensure that it is being managed well in our organization. And we thank Atul sir for giving such a wonderful presentation. And let me announce here that the next session of ours would be held on coming Friday, again at 4 p.m. and the topic would be how to create good shop floor training material. So in the next session, we will learn how to make an effective shop floor training material. Again, Atul sir would share his experience and insight with us. So let me take this opportunity to thank Atul sir for being with us, and Makija sir for hosting this session, and all the participants for being with us. And I have shared the presentations of all our sessions with you, and today's presentation also will be shared in some time. Thank you very much for being with us. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Vikrant sir.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone.